why the view count, right? But the stupid dancing. I go do stupid prank.
Yeah, those are the ones that are popular. Yeah.
Jang. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Pokeball podcast.
Yay!
Although I think these days it's more the Vietnamese podcast.
Vietnamese noodle spring roll podcast. I don't know, that'll be too long for a name.
So today we are going to be talking about introverts and extroverts. Yeah, going to be interesting. I don't know if it's like a contentious topic. Is it? Would we? Is it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd be fun to know, like, whether are they the hidden secret reveal?
Yeah, when people argue about like whether introverts or extroverts are better. We'll find out today. We'll see what happens in the conversation. Yeah. So as usual, we have Calvin, Lydia, and myself, and Fern. Welcome again to the podcast.
Hello.
Yeah. So today, introverts versus extroverts, and I thought the first question that we can start off with is identify yourself as either an introvert or an extrovert. Or I guess you could also be like, I'm just an ambivert.
Is that a word? Ambivert?
Yeah.
I mean, naturally we are ambiverts, just whether we lean on which one. The percentage more. We are ambiverts, right? We can't be
Okay.
So who wants to go first?
Well, if I were to remember my MBTI personality test. So the last I did many years ago, I was an ENFP. So basically I'm an extrovert that goes like, I like to make friends.
I would agree. That's you.
But then recently I did, and I became an INFJ.
Can change one.
That's really different.
So I became INFJ. But the thing is, that's interesting. But I think if I were to look at that chart again, like the extrovert introvert, it's just like a 53 versus 40. It is kind of like
very
somewhere
borderline.
in between. It's not like very extreme, like 80% or 10. No, it's not. So, but the thing is, when they explain, INFJs, they are introspective people, and then they okay, all right, so try to be they don't try to share too much when it's not needed. They are trying to, they are more inward themselves, like, maybe I don't know, is it an age thing?
So as you grow older, that's why.
As you grow older, everyone starts to be an introvert. I don't know. What about you, Kelvin?
I am definitely an introvert. I know with the YouTube and the stuff, there are times when I make myself seem as if, I enjoy doing stuff that's outgoing and making lots of noise. But my secret is that the power, it comes from being introvert most of the time. So that's my secret identity.
Interesting. So what does being an introvert look like to you?
Good question. Because it's not just about hiding away in the library, not seeing anyone. For me, it's being comfortable with being with myself. I mean, almost like wanting to ask myself and, reflect on things on myself. And then I find that once I'm clear on what I think about this, or clear about what I want to do during the day, then, I'm ready to engage with other people.
Okay, so that's like a period of reflection that needs to go into...
Has to.
Okay.
I need that every day.
Okay. Very good. Okay, that's good. Before I come to myself, I just wanted to come back to you because you tested as an E, and then now you're an I. So how do you feel about that?
Actually, I don't know. I've been realizing, I don't know. I don't feel any difference because mine is always like an in between. It's like I can be an E and I can be an I. I don't see a huge gap. So I don't know. Maybe it's an age thing that you become an I, more and more introvert. But I realized like maybe I learned how to spend time alone. I enjoy going out, spending time alone, doing hobbies and all these things, and learning new things on my own. So when people say like, "Wow, Lydia, you bojo," you're like, why you don't invite
Never
me?
Invite you. Yeah.
But for me, it's like, why do I need to invite you? So why do I need to invite you? Then you go and complain like, "Oh, you come and invite me," and then so to get away from all this drama, you learn to spend time alone, and and enjoy that.
Interesting. Actually, I'm really wondering what the people behind the testing would say, whether or not introversion and extroversion is something that can change, or is it relatively stable throughout our lives. But anyway, for myself, I am
Who are you?
very, very, very introverted. Again, a lot of people are surprised by that. So one of our classmates recently she looked at me and she was like, "You, an introvert."
Okay. All
And
right.
it's not
You're
the
so
first time.
surprised. Okay.
Yeah, it's not the first time I've had
Okay.
it. But I think the thing is, what I would say is that just because you're an introvert doesn't mean that you don't enjoy being around people. You know.
Okay, all right.
But
Yeah.
what I do need is that after spending time with people, I actually need a lot of alone time. Yeah.
Okay.
So I need to actually spend quite a bit of time on my own to recover, to recuperate. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you are like forced to do extroverted things, you have to
I don't
meet
feel,
with people.
I
and-
don't feel forced. I genuinely enjoy being with people,
Okay.
but it does drain me.
Yeah,
Okay.
social battery need to recharge.
Yeah, which is a real thing. Yeah, I think, yeah.
And I think that's how they actually, I could be wrong, but I think that's how they determine actually whether you're an introvert or extrovert. It's actually what energizes you. So
Okay.
are you energized when you're with people or like in, you know, like doing all the extroverted stuff?
Okay.
Or are you energized when you are alone? Or doing introverted stuff. So that's actually how you determine whether you're an introvert or extrovert. It's not so much
Okay,
like whether you
alright.
can talk to people
Okay,
or not.
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you are introvert. You confess that you're introvert, even though other people look at you and say, "Eh, actually, why
Yeah.
you doesn't make sense."
Yeah.
So does that mean you don't represent actual introverts, or is it that actually a lot of introverts are secretly so? I mean, they hide their, like Batman, like that. Batman is extrovert when he go and fight crime, and then
Yeah,
when he's in
Batman.
Batcave,
Yeah.
he's introvert.
But actually, if I look at
Batcave.
Batman, if I were to meet Batman in person, I would just say that he's an introvert. There's nothing about him that's like
He's
friendly.
like, I'm forced to do all these
Yeah.
social
Correct
gatherings.
lah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
man.
But you know, like, but for you, it's very obvious when you're out there in your videos, when you're doing like you're filming, you are so like out there.
Yeah.
And Lydia as well. You're also
Yeah,
the
yeah,
same.
right.
I don't know where you
Yeah.
get
You
your
know?
energy from. Being an introvert. Mine is like an ambivert. I'm like a 50-50.
Okay.
But I don't know, if you do your MBTI score, is it a very obvious
I
skill?
forgot what I am already. Actually, yeah.
Can do it with the first years later. They're
Okay,
doing that.
yeah,
that.
yeah. So
because
yeah,
you're
we're having that
MBTI class,
course with
Yeah.
the.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but I was thinking that I like
Yeah,
all
yeah,
three
yeah.
of us
I don't know,
introvert.
is it an age thing, really?
Yeah, could be
The
actually.
age
Yeah.
thing.
For
but
me, it's not lah.
I don't know. If you have the energy of a 20-year-old at this age, I don't know. Wow, you must have very good genes then.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So this is a table of introverts.
Okay,
right?
we've established that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the next question is, I mean, this is a bit of a, maybe it's a bias to ask this question,
okay.
but is it okay to be an introvert? Do you like
okay.
yourself as an introvert? Do you like that you are an introvert?
Yeah.
Or have you ever wished
Yeah.
that you were more like extroverted?
You know, I think of how many times like my parents say, "Hey, go out lah, go and hang out with your friends," or just generally the acceptable trait of someone who's a leader or in ministry, right? You have to deal with people, and so I wonder if that's almost like at work, in ministry, in church, at home. You know, that's the kind of acceptable good point, being extroverted. You know, being able to speak your mind. And so it feels like a bias, you know, because the question is it okay to not be extrovert, to be introvert, and to be spending time by yourself?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I don't seem to see a problem with the introverted leader. And I think they are much
Okay.
more deep thinkers. The extrovert are like, yeah, just
Do then think.
The energy push me. And like,
Okay,
okay,
okay.
sometimes you definitely need leaders who are introspective and as they think and reflect. You see, if you would go to a company, right?
Okay.
Yeah, you definitely need a director. I mean, like, which have a both kind
Okay,
of contrast.
okay.
You can't have the same mindset, and then they can't see a different perspective. So yeah, you
Okay.
definitely need an extroverted leader that goes out and get people to know about your company.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, if the introvert, then they can do all the thinking on how they can plan the strategies. So yeah, that's where you need the teamwork. You can't have like, yeah, it's better to be introspective or an extrovert. something
But
like
even
that.
the question, is it okay? It's like asking permission. Is it okay? I be introverted. Is it okay? I don't
What's wrong?
I don't make so much noise. Yeah, it's like asking for permission, and then it's like a certain kind of like, I know, bias and kind of like discrimination almost against people who don't want to hang out with other people.
Right. Okay. Then I guess one of the ways we can think about it is, do you feel like maybe it's acceptable to be very introverted, for example?
Hmm.
Or do you think there are certain kinds of biases?
What do you think, Lydia?
I don't know. You see, I definitely an extroverted person has a lot of charisma and definitely very attractive to look.
Yeah lor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It is a pulling factor for people to look at you.
Mhm.
But I never. And then based on if you know all these TED talks you go to, there are a lot of
Correct lor,
introspective
yeah.
leaders,
Okay.
introvert leaders, and they are equally amazing. They just have a different way of getting.
But you got
things
to
done.
admit, right? The wayang person, they are the ones that, they get the attention lah. Like you were talking about the
Yeah.
CEOs or the head of
Yeah.
companies. It's
Like
all
TikTok.
the Elon Musk,
see
Steve
TikTok.
Jobs, TikTok lah.
You see all the people doing crazy stuff. Those are the ones that get
Those are-
attention.
correct,
The
yeah.
quiet that give a lot of talk like girl on girl.
Is that why there's a difference between?
That's why maybe that's why the
Yeah.
view count right. But the stupid dancing. I go do stupid prank.
Yeah, those are the ones that are popular, yeah.
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 And that is why TikTok is the way it is. Is
It
it?
encourages it,
Oh,
right?
it's very
Yeah,
toxic.
yeah.
No,
It's naturally what draws
it's the algorithm.
attention.
Yeah, the algorithm's
Yeah.
fault.
Yeah.
But the algorithm is also because you view that is what we are looking at, right?
Suggested
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
Actually, I read this study, and it was a study. It's a proper research study whereby they got two groups of people, and they said, group number one, you have to be introvert for 1 week, and then the other group had to be extrovert. That means you have to be intentionally like keep to yourself, don't talk to many people.
But did they naturally test as like?
I think they got a mixture. Now I don't
Okay,
know. I think it's
okay.
probably a mixture, because the reason I say this is because the final test that they had was that how happy they were at the end of the week, and actually what's interesting is that the people who were extroverted were happier.
Oh,
Being introvert.
Really?
See?
Interesting.
It does.
No,
I think.
happier being extrovert.
Huh?
Yeah. The
Happier being extrovert. Oh, I thought they were
And
supposed to swap.
because even though they had to force themselves
Okay,
to be, yeah. So I'm a
Interesting.
bit troubled by that result, because I'm thinking, I prefer spending time by myself, hiding at the library. Am I missing out, lah?
Yeah, and
By-
like the
by
moment you
not
said that,
going
I
out.
suddenly
Yeah.
felt FOMO.
Yeah.
Am I like not as
Exactly.
happy as I could be?
Yeah.
Okay, but coming back to the fact that, oh no.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I have to use
Can
my
still
hand
makan.
sanitizer. Yeah, don't worry, got chopstick. 5 second rule. 5 second rule.
It's supposed to strengthen
Yeah, my
your.
immune. Yeah, that's how we get Malaysian have a very strong stomach.
Yeah. But coming back to the fact that we are all introverts, except for Lydia, who tested as an E.
E before, yeah.
Right.
Wow.
It
Okay.
has to be an E consistently, ENFP, and then after that somehow it became an INFJ.
Yeah.
Huh.
Wow.
Weird.
Okay.
But,
Do you feel like okay, for you especially, like how do you see yourself like as a younger person? Like when you were a child, were you like
I was even more introverted.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Very, very quiet by myself. Very quiet child. I always stay at home, go and do homework when. Yeah.
the A
good boy.
student?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mentioned before that a lot of the extrovertedness, is through the videos and stuff, and it's intentional because again, if you want to do this, everyone has a YouTube face, everyone has a YouTube voice, and you learn it like a skill.
Yeah.
The same way that pastors who are mostly introverted, the reason you go into ministry is because, you don't want to be like football stars. I mean, there's a certain introverted character to being in ministry. But, if you want to do ministry at the scale of a church, you're not just one-to-one. You have to learn how to preach. You have to learn how to, be engaging up front. And so it can be a learned skill. But like you said, it's kind of like, it's not just what you do, but what you're comfortable with. And I think that kind of extrovertedness might be just an activity. I wouldn't say a facade, but it's an activity that you do as part of just getting through the day or even doing your job.
Yeah, I think that's true. So for me, I think a lot of my extroverted side, which obviously comes true because some people do think I'm an extrovert, it's actually exactly what I always tell people. It's a skill. It was trained. I had to train for it, not intentionally, but just by nature of the activities that I was involved in, even growing up. So I did a lot of like debating and public speaking, like drama. You have to kind of put yourself out there. And then when I was working at one point, I did a lot of like training and teaching. And in those kind of settings, like the highest energy person is actually the trainer. because you set the tone. So if you
Okay.
want it to be high energy, you kind of have to bring in
Okay.
that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I felt like I had to learn all of that on the job. But of course, then at the end of the day, just go home, crawl under my blankets.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me anymore. Yeah, and it's interesting because in my previous job, the group of trainers, actually majority of us were introverts. But and it's interesting how
Okay,
we
alright,
all,
yeah.
chose the jobs that we did. But then when we walked in to our class, you see like a different side. We are like hype, And then when we go back into the office, the staff room is like quiet. It's so strange to actually.
You're making me wonder whether there is such thing as that extrovert character. Because everyone, no matter how much energy you get from it, you're Thairawan, right? Yeah, I mean,
even the most extroverted person.
unless it's someone that we don't know. Do we know anyone who's like perpetually hyper, always? Maybe
I don't know, man.
I don't know, right?
That's
I mean,
hyperactive.
I would have thought that's you
That would
already.
be hyperactive, lah.
Yeah.
I don't know, cause if I were to show my extroverted side, I don't know. It's just mainly because I'm excited for the event.
Yeah.
I'm definitely happy to. It's passionate. If you ask me to, like, Lydia, go for a wedding event, oh, so boring. You see my social energy boom. Yeah, oh, it's so boring.
Actually, I
and
feel
people
the same.
talking, hee ha, how was your day? And they're like, no, I'll be sitting there playing my phone. So it's because even though it's a social setting, right? So I have a different way of. If I do enjoy the event, you will see me extroverted.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm definitely happy to help. Like all these HTBB events, yeah, definitely very happy to help because
You want something to do, lah.
I mean, I could see there is a fulfillment in
Okay.
serving. If I go all this social event, like, let's go to a family gathering and happy Chinese New Year, and then you see your auntie, how are you? You got boyfriend already? You see all this. That's where you want to go hiding mode.
Yeah.
But
Okay. All right.
When you go to all these
Okay.
other events that you see that you can learn something or you could do and something that you're passionate about, it definitely drives you the energy.
So it
in
has
a
to be
different-
purposeful.
Definitely. That's
for
where my
you.
energy comes in.
So I wanted to ask you, because you tested as an E when you were younger.
Okay.
And then when you look at yourself now, what do you think is the difference?
I don't know. Maybe I'm not observant enough, but I think it's just more like being less caring about what other people think.
That is a perk of growing older.
You just don't care about what other people think. Yeah.
Actually, you're like, oh wow, why my friends don't seem to like me? I always went out and go attend parties that I felt very tired. But then after somehow, like, it's okay. There
I would have thought it would be the other way around.
Yeah.
If you don't care about what people think, then you become more extrovert. But because now you don't care, then you can
introvert, no?
introvert.
I mean, you don't need the FOMO
Okay,
thing. It
alright.
just gets like as you become an introvert, FOMO. Yeah, like when people like, hey, let's
Okay.
meet up after that. Hey, let's cancel last minute. Yeah. Last minute cancellation.
Yeah.
That's where the introvertedness comes in. Yay.
Or do you feel like being an extrovert? I mean, back when you were younger, maybe there was a bit more. You felt a bit more pressure to live up to certain expectations, and part of that is being,
Yeah.
But I think one of the things to
Yeah.
clarify in this conversation is that when we are talking about, I think, introverts and extroverts, a lot of times it's very easy to make assumptions and to
Yeah.
stereotype people. But I'm beginning to also think that that's not the right way.
Okay.
Yeah, the way it presents itself and all that, like it's not as stereotypical as we think that it is, But as an introvert, I would resonate with what I just said myself, that sometimes the extroversion that comes out, it comes from a place of like thinking that I need to fulfill certain expectations because people prefer a certain more extroverted traits, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah. It socially also it feels a bit more acceptable. Like for example, if I go to a party, like what Lydia said, I would sometimes really just rather sit in a corner at a party, but it doesn't look nice socially. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's more
Okay.
acceptable to go
my mom
around.
will say,
and-
no more. Yeah, we in Chinese call 没有礼貌 means
yeah.
that means you're not being in a way your
Okay.
presence is not there. It's
Yeah.
not good. So
Yeah.
you have to be a hope.
And
a
I
good host.
think I got that like occasionally as a child because I was really like the kid who would much prefer to like read and stay in a corner, and I
Okay.
didn't like the social events. I was very shy as a child. Yeah, so I think part of the extroversion, or if I ever feel like I needed to like be a bit more out there, it's really
Okay.
because I'm also at the back of my mind thinking like, oh, it's more socially acceptable to be that. Yeah.
So, I mean, being introverts and finding that in social situations, both of you, even though you react differently, it drains you. You know, for you are lovingly, you know, participating, but it drains you. For you, it drains you. That's why you're gonna play with your phone.
That's right.
I'm wondering, is there a way for you to be in a situation and not be drained? You know, whereby is it that everyone's playing your phone together, or maybe even that you're actually maybe doing something like this, whereby it doesn't drain you, but it doesn't at the same time force you to be something that you're not. You don't feel as if you have to put on a show or you have to entertain the person. I wonder if there is a kind of situation whereby that can happen organically. Yeah.
Do you have an answer to that?
Well, I'm just thinking about what we're doing here. It isn't naturally what introverts would do, but it does take effort. I mean, you had to come all the way here. We had to set this up, and at some point of time, I'm thinking both things. I'm thinking, wow, this is this is actually taxing me emotionally. But at the same time, it is, right? I mean, it does, right? I mean,
I don't know.
Should we be concerned, guys?
Oh no.
not to the point of being despondent. I mean, it costs something, like, in other words.
It does.
Yeah. But at the same time, I feel as if this is worthwhile. I don't have to think so hard. You know, we're having a conversation the way that we would if we were actually having lunch. And I wonder if this is a way of kind of like balancing the two modes that we have, because it sounds as if we normally have to switch into one or the other. Yeah.
I think you can be both without being fake about it.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
even if I'm being extroverted, if I'm going around saying like hi to people and I'm talking to them and doing this with you guys, it's not like I'm being forced to, and it's not like I secretly hate it, you know.
Okay.
Although like, yes, there is a cost. So I just told them in our WhatsApp group yesterday that after filming episode 2 of our podcast,
that was a very intense episode.
Mental health, right?
Mental health,
so what I did was I went into my car and I sat in my car for 15 minutes alone before class.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I
okay.
just needed to feel like I was in a vacuum, and I was like, I need quiet, I need to be alone, I need to recharge. Yeah, so that is...
Was it specific to that episode, or do you feel that every week?
That week was a bit more, but I don't think necessarily that it was that episode. I think a lot of factors come into play. Like, it's a busy week, it was a bit more happening. But I think that just goes to show like how I understand introverts to be is that when you recharge, you need to really kind of withdraw.
Okay.
You know, because I do have friends who are very extroverted. They cannot be alone.
Yes.
Oh,
And they
okay.
see,
Is that so?
yeah,
Okay.
and they see being alone almost like it's a waste of time. And the more they go out and the more they pack out their social schedule, it like hypes them even more. They draw a lot of like strength and energy, like in a good way from it. You know, but for me, I'm like, that's the worst thing I could do to myself on a weekend to like have to like meet up with like 3 different groups of people on a Saturday. You know, but I know friends who, for them, that is like, yeah, this is what we should do. This is, and then if they find out that I'm at home alone with no plans, they're like, why are you, like, what is wrong with you? like you're wasting time. And I'm like, no, this is the best thing to do.
It's like your friends are like all 20 years old, teenagers.
So yeah, I'm
Very
beginning to
demonstrable.
see like how we define introverts and extroverts is really how we kind of recharge, what recharges us.
Okay.
Yeah, but back to your question about like being whether we can kind of be both without feeling like we're putting on a show. I think for sure, because when I'm doing my extroverted thing, I'm not putting on a show. Just so y'all know, if I come and I'm like laughing with y'all and all that, I genuinely enjoy your company.
So for example, I find this a lot easier to do than just talking head camera, whereby I'm just looking at the camera alone. Because then I'm constantly in my head. You know, I don't have time to pause, for instance. Like now you're talking, I can kind of like recharge and think about the next thing to say. But also, it's kind of like a lot of, you're imagining sometimes, oh, who's going to see this or who's going to watch this. Sometimes it gets into your head. Whereas this is, you can just forget and kind of like talk. Yeah, it is still strange. I mean, there's like lighting and we're using like mics and stuff. But you forget it after a while.
Yeah.
So Pokeball podcast is the place to be. Or maybe Alpha.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah, actually, I find that that's a good alternative.
I mean, they don't really force you to like, hey, do you have anything to share? Unless there's total silence, nobody share anything.
I went for Alpha recently, so this is a course. The 10 weeks, I never say anything. Oh, it's okay, no.
What
which
was
is
it
great.
like done on purpose?
I don't know whether to say now. Okay, all right. We are how many minutes into it already? No, okay, no, we'll listen after 30 minutes already. Right. So the
It's a
group
safe
is much
space.
older. It's a much older group.
Yeah.
I went it because a family member was joining, so I just joined lah. And so there was a bit of disconnect. The kind of issues they're talking about grandkids and kind of thing. So okay lah, just listen and enjoy, and then after that go back. And actually, I really enjoyed it. Compared to last year when I joined, I was helping to facilitate. You have to answer questions. Got to go, good question. So I was really horrible outside. Yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah, that was good. You can actually do that.
Yeah, cool. Do you think that, well, this is a bit of like a leading question.
Okay.
But in general, like our everyday world, being at work and all that, do you think that there is a very obvious preference or opportunities maybe for extroverts and introverts that are different? A little bit like going back to actually no, not the study that you said, but anyway, continue.
Yeah.
I like any
I think
preference.
I think it used to be the case. I think CEOs have a certain image whereby you're the guy who has the idea and the vision, and you can communicate it really well. But I think now we're coming to an age whereby people value something like authenticity. They actually want you to, if they get even a sense that you're putting on a kind of fakeness, some kind of image, I think it turns people off. So it's not necessarily introvertedness, but I think even if you are passionate about something, they want to know whether you really, really think this way or not. Yeah, so I think there is a kind of, it's still a plus, but it has to be real. I would say, I'll put it that way.
Because looking back at HTBB, if I were to look at Miles, is he an extrovert, introvert?
Correct, actually, yeah.
But he does, I think he might say he's an introvert, but the thing is, he display extrovert qualities when it's needed. So I think there is no preference. It's like when the situation comes, it's how you're able to be open enough to take on and be out of your comfort zone. You don't have to be like, I have to be an introvert, I have to be an extrovert. You don't need to label yourself that way. It's just that you're open to learn and we always say, let the Holy Spirit guide you, and somehow you're able to flourish in different ways.
I like what you said, that it doesn't have to be an either or. So we might test more or less on the scale, right, of extroversion, but actually day-to-day life requires us to be both.
Yes.
And I think
both. Okay.
As an introvert, you need to learn some of the things that come naturally to an extrovert, and as an extrovert, I would actually say that they probably need to learn some skills that comes with being an introvert as well. So for example, again, not stereotyping or generalizing, but maybe a quality that is seen as more introverted is being able to just listen or give that space for others to come in. I would think that's a skill also that everyone has to learn, regardless of whether you're an introvert or an extrovert.
Yeah, because we're all three introverts, I'm trying to imagine an extrovert saying the thing we said earlier on, whereby we learn how to be introvert at times, right? I do wonder if it can be quite challenging for someone who's just so used to be around people to try to be with just one person or be by themselves. I think that can be very, very challenging, right? Because you'll be fidgety, and in the end you might cheat because you just go and fall asleep when you not doing anything. Yeah, but actually what you need to do is actually to be able to be alone, to be able to be with your own thoughts.
Looking at that question, because I have people who don't like to be alone because of the background they grew up with. So it's kind of like they're maybe family-wise not that close, and then that's why they felt that being with friends and extrovert is a way of escape. So maybe, and that's why I have people who are still struggling with. I mean, like people say, "Oh wow, you do things alone." My mom will say, "Wow, I do things alone, Lydia. Why you so weird? Solo traveling, very weird. You don't scared the people suddenly kidnap you or somewhere." I mean, they have all these kind of things that this kind of fear that kind of stop them from using to I mean like you have to also learn how to be loving yourself, spend time with yourself, and to grow yourself. You don't really need someone else to do that.
Yeah. It's quite interesting this conversation because we're all introverts. So it will be very interesting actually to maybe have had an extrovert like bring in their own thoughts.
Yes,
so if anyone who is an extrovert and you disagree with some of the things that we're saying, leave it in the comments. You want to know, just know that this is quite a one-sided conversation at this point. just because we're all introverts. I
don't know, how do you define extrovert? Is like how is it allowed? I mean, I don't know how people tend to relate extrovert as a loud and chatty person. I don't know why.
That is the stereotype.
Yeah, why though? You're an extrovert person, huh? No.
Yeah, I think someone who gets energy from that. I think we were saying, right? So which recharges you, whether staying yourself or actually being with other people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the quiet one is like, you must be an introvert. Oh no,
I'm
just shy for now. Maybe after a few moments, bam, the extrovert nature come out. That's why because I'm not used to my environment yet. Bam, later. So I don't know. It's like, the way you talk defines whether you're introvert or extrovert, huh?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So coming to a land for today, as introverts,
yes.
What would you maybe say to a fellow introvert? Sorry, extroverts. Like, hopefully you can learn something a bit more about us. But then you can
extrovert mode.
Share your thoughts with us. Okay. But as an introvert, what would you maybe say to someone who is an introvert who maybe struggles with kind of needing to put on that extroverted energy sometimes in different social situations, or if you're doing a job, like for example if you're in ministry, it goes without question, actually you do need to have some of that, but how do you self-care? how do you care for yourself? How do you kind of balance the need of sometimes the need to be out there versus actually what you really need to find rest?
Have to think about that.
I don't know. Definitely, a buddy system will help. Right? You don't do this alone, really. I mean, as an introvert, if you suddenly just drown them, hey, why do you lead this training session? Bam! Then you will see the introvert start sweating bullets and all like. But it's more like a buddy system. Like, hey, I'm here, so I'm here to support you, but you lead. You watch me how I do, and there must be like a mentor-mentee kind of a relationship, and then after that you are able to take on. So take on doing something that is out of your comfort zone. So
sometimes sharing the load.
Yeah, in a way sharing the load. Definitely not like letting you drown and learn from it.
No. How would that work? Actually, what do you mean?
Like HTBB, right? Like Abel, he always he always trains up leader. Like, all this hosting, you have to go out on stage and host, right? Thankfully, you have the energy to host. But those people who may not have the energy, then they're like, then there is always a feedback session. There is a guy guiding like how you can host well and all these things. So I mean, there is someone to help you, to support you, not so that and then you're able to, as long as you're open enough to try, that I believe that you're able to get better.
I see. Okay. All right. Yes. It sounds as if we are living in an extroverted world.
It is. I mean, the thing to get things done, even you have. I mean, in the end, to get things, it's a human interaction that is still needed, regardless. You can't run unless you're like an IT guy. You talk with AI forever. I don't know. I don't know. But there is the element of human interaction that we have. We cannot run. We cannot run. So we have to get out of our comfort zone. Not easy, but it's the willingness to try. And at least there's a non-judgmental people that are able to give you feedback and able to push you better. Yeah, that'd be great.
For me, I think it's almost like a superpower. So I think the reason why I can do all those crazy videos or even like podcasts, right, was because during COVID, I loved it. I kind of loved being stuck at home. And then it gave me the opportunity of doing things by myself. I mean, doing all this kind of thing. At the end of the day, I had to do it because it was part of ministry. But then I didn't have to see people. So it meant that I could prepare it well, I could rehearse it. And sometimes when you're taping also, it's just you yourself only. So again, it can get scary because then you're thinking, who's going to see this? But once you get past that, right, it allows you to make the most of that quiet time together, and you actually almost enjoy it. And I find that again, I find it's a superpower because actually I do enjoy spending all this amount of time just by myself, and then to find it to make it in such a way that it can actually produce something like the videos or the podcasts. So I think we are in an age whereby you can actually do that. It's actually possible. You can actually make the most of your introvertedness such that it can actually just go beyond just yourself. Yeah.
That's really interesting. Very interesting thought. I take heart in that. Yeah. I think for me, it's just being very aware of sort of the needs. So knowing that actually for me, my social energy is very finite. And I know compared to like some people, it's really very little. Yeah. My social energy is really like quite limited compared to a lot of people out there. So I think it's really just planning things in advance. For example, actually most of the time I try and reserve my Saturdays for just being at home alone. And it is one of those things I noticed that if I don't have that one day to myself, I feel very like I just feel all over the place. So usually by the end of the week, I'm already starting to feel quite frazzled. And then to have one day at home alone where I don't have plans and I can be on my own, that's very helpful. But it's all planned in advance. And I try sometimes actually to plan these things or anticipate
actually, that's wise. Yeah,
and then
because you know you need it, right?
And then if I know like there are big things happening, so like for example, if there's a big work event or if there's like a wedding that's happening on a Saturday, weddings happen on Saturdays, like I actually have to think about like contingency, like okay, I know like this day is gone, so maybe on a Sunday instead I won't go out for lunch with friends after church, I'll just come home.
Also, it's like your phone battery, you know you need the phone for so much. You need
like a
charge it first, make sure you charge phone.
Yeah. So I think one of the things I had to learn was just to plan in advance and know your limits. It comes with also like being able to anticipate your limits. And even for work, like Mondays to Wednesdays, usually I have a lot of calls, a lot of meetings, and sometimes I'm especially if I'm leading the calls, even if it's a Zoom call, it drains. It drains me at the end. So Fridays is a no call, no meeting day.
Good.
Yeah. So is that right?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. That's it for today for our conversation on being introverts. We wanted to talk about being introverts and extroverts, but actually we didn't know that
Welcome to the introverts.
we didn't know that we were all like
I thought
introverts.
you were definitely extrovert.
I mean, there is on occasions, but I wouldn't totally label myself an extrovert.
So this turned out to be the introvert chat.
Yay!
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Again, if you're an extrovert, if you have very strong feelings about what we say, leave your comments below, and we'll see you again.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.